Welcome to the Masterclass series, Being Future Ready, brought to you by the Vadvani Institute of Technology and Policy, WITP, and the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. We are excited to bring forth leaders, academicians, policymakers, thinkers, strategists, and experts on emerging technologies where they will share their experience, expertise and advice on digital transformation and the adoption of implementing emerging technologies in the government that results in stronger governance and better public service delivery. In this masterclass, we will have the following agenda for you. We would like to introduce ourselves. We are Vadvani Institute of Technology and Policy, from Vadvani Foundation. One of the key benefits of the masterclass series, Being Future Ready, is to meet and interact with industry experts, accomplished government leaders, academicians and practitioners on emerging technologies and digital transformation. We learn in these sessions their experience, expertise and advice on digital transformation and the adoption of implementing emerging technologies in the government that results in stronger governance and better public service delivery. To make this experience worthwhile, we will also be awarding a certificate of participation to all registered audience members who attend at least 50% of these masterclass sessions by IIMB and Vadvani Foundation. So without much further ado, let's dive into our masterclass session today.
Namaskar and welcome to the 7th session of the masterclass series of Being Future Ready, an initiative of Vadvani Institute of Technology and Policy in partnership with IIM Bangalore and the CSITM team. We are excited for today's session. It's on generative AI for digital transformation, and we'll quickly run us through, not taking too much time, with a quick agenda of introducing IIM, WITP, and of course, introducing our guests. So without much further ado, I would like to invite Venkatesh from IIM Bangalore, the CSITM team.
Good morning and good evening. This is Venkatesh Balakrishnan. I manage the Center for Software and IT Management. On behalf of the Center and IIM Bangalore, I extend a warm welcome to the speaker of today, Mr. Eshwar Belani, Prakashji, the faculty of IIM Bangalore, the entire of Vadvani Foundation team, and all the participants. I shall give a 1-minute introduction of the Center for the benefit of those who are joining this session for the first time. This center has been in existence from 1998, and this year incidentally marks the Silver Jubilee year for the center. And over years of existence, it has established a huge network of resources, and they include academics, professionals from all walks of the industry, and also government officials. And we support research and training activities, and some of the focus areas of interest or artificial intelligence, digital transformation, product management, digital governance. And the event of today is of particular interest. And as we sent out the invitation, many people, many institutes such as the IITs and the IIMs were asking whether they should be forwarded to their alumni group, and we said by all means. And we do see a lot of interest in this topic. And we are pretty sure that there is going to be good interest shown by a huge turnout and then follow-up questions. And with that, I welcome you all once again.
Thank you, Venkatesh, and also congratulations again for the 25 years. Without much further ado, I would also now like to invite Shri Prakash Kumar, CEO for WITP, Vadvani Institute of Technology and Policy, to give us a quick introduction about WITP.
Thank you, Purvi, and let me welcome all the participants, almost touching 200 now, who have joined for this seminar. This initiative was set up in April 2021 by Vadvani Foundation under an MOU which Foundation signed with Principal Scientific Advisor to the Prime Minister. And the objective is to enable digital transformation of ministries through skilling of bureaucrats, helping them to convert their ideas into projects. And also we work on policies, especially in digital era, what kind of policies we should have, as well as provide our comments and advice on new policies which get drafted. So that's what we do. In first year, we trained around 2,000 officers of central and state government. And all this exercise is done by foundation on pro bono basis. So that's the short introduction of WITP. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you so much, sir. And also for all our viewers, I'm sure most of us know this by now, but those of us who are joining us for the first time or have attended maybe more than one session, a quick reminder, we have had these masterclasses starting from October of 2022, and we have managed to cover the first leg of certificates awarded for people who have attended more than 50% of our sessions. We encourage all of us to attend the upcoming sessions where we have one in each month. And upon attending 50% or more of our sessions, we of course award a certificate by IIM, CSITM and WITP. So without much further ado, I'm excited to bring our guest for today's masterclass, which is on generative AI for digital transformation, Shri Eshwar Belani from Sai Group, who's a partner. Without much further ado, I give the stage to him and we commence the session. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everybody. We are going to be talking about generative AI today. I'm sure all of you have, heard about this term in the last several months. It's pretty much been front page news globally on all newspapers and all media channels. And this should be a pretty exciting, and it's going to be a fast-paced session. So we do welcome questions as well to keep it interactive. The focus will be to, kick it off with an introduction to generative AI, and then we will cover specific use cases relating to the public sector and the government function as a whole, and then maybe a few other topics as well, including a demo of some of these technologies. So as I get started, we are at a cusp of the dawn of an entirely new era. As all of you are probably aware, in the early 80s, we had the advent of the x86 architecture, which gave rise to the PC industry. And, that led to the entire PC revolution kicking off globally. Around 1995, we had the advent of the browser, which led to the internet coming to life. And then in 2007, with the introduction of the iPhone, we've had the mobile industry and a whole host of companies and apps emerged from there. And late last year, as we had the introduction of ChatGPT, I'm calling that out as a key inflection point in this evolution of technology, which is going to lead to an entirely new era, which I'm labeling here as the intelligence era. So as I was describing, we've had all these different, revolutions in the world of technology with different eras, and we are now in an entirely new one. All of you are clearly familiar with everything that's happened in the past, but what's unique about where we are with the intelligence era is, by some estimates, again, this is now some speculation and some opinions, but some estimates, call out the size and scale of impact of the intelligence era to be north of 10x of all these previous eras combined. So if you take the GDP contribution from the PC industry, from the internet, and from the mobile revolution, you combine all of that and you multiply by 10, you will probably be at a conservative estimate for what the intelligence era is going to deliver. And keep that thought at the back of your mind. But as we go through this presentation, you'll start to connect the dots and see, why that could be the case. Now, it's important to understand how we got to where we are. And if you see this chart, it's a pretty simple one, which spans across time. And on the x-axis, it goes back about 7 decades or so. And on the y-axis, we have a notion of the amount of effort that we have put in to create AI models. And we have three, different periods during this entire time frame. So the first one is, you can think of it as the pre-deep learning or the classical, machine learning kind of era, and that's this blue line here. One thing I do want to point out is the y-axis is, in logarithmic scales. So each notch on the y-axis is about 2 orders of magnitude larger than the previous one. So there's a logarithmic scale that you're seeing here. And so this line appears linear. This dotted blue line appears linear in the logarithmic scale, but it's actually an exponential line. The amount of effort that we've been putting into training our models as measured by flops is been going up at an exponential rate. Now, when we hit the deep learning era, this blue line took a steep, curve upwards. So the sloping, got steeper. And now we characterize ourselves as being in the large scale era, where the line jumped to becoming this red dotted line here. And, we are putting a far more effort into these models every time we create one. Now, I want to take a step back and, emphasize that the effort we've been taking to create these AI models has been increasing at a phenomenal rate. And that increase is correlated with the increase in the intelligence of these models as well. So, you have to keep in mind that these models are going to get more intelligent, quite quickly, at least for the foreseeable future. What we are witnessing is that, we can keep focusing on, doubling down on training, and there's a corresponding increase in the intelligence of these models. And then there's, doubling of the amount of effort that's going in every 10 months these days for the large scale era, but the other eras are also, keeping up. So this is an important concept which we will touch upon repeatedly during the course of this presentation. And what's happened with the exponential nature of the increase in intelligence is that, when we go back several decades ago and we use, let's just take an example index for intelligence, if it was 0.01 or 0.02 or 0.04 or 0.08 and it's been doubling, if you zoom out, it'll still seem like a line that is close to the x-axis, and it's pretty much going parallel to the x-axis. And it's very common for folks to have a linear extrapolation of that in terms of looking ahead. But because of the exponential nature with which we have been increasing our effort to train these models, now we have started to, increase the intelligence of these models at a pretty rapid clip. And that's why when ChatGPT first came out, there was a pleasant surprise for everybody, because, this was far exceeded what we'd expected an AI system to be capable of doing, say last November or last December. And similarly, when GPT-4 came out earlier this year, again, there was, it caught a lot of people, almost everyone I know, off guard in terms of the sophistication and the level of intelligence in that model. And again, so, I want to emphasize that we have been constantly thinking about this through a linear extrapolation, whereas the actual increases in intelligence is more exponential, as highlighted in this green line. And this is summarized very well by Clayton Christian, who said that technology changes happen gradually and then very suddenly. And so keep this in mind. These two slides are meant to emphasize the exponential nature in the rate of change and how quickly these things are coming to life. And while they may not have been as smart or intelligent, in the previous decades, if you even look out over the next several months and couple of years, we expect these to, evolve extremely quickly. as shown in this, representative green slope here. Now, coming to generative AI and what it is, you can think of this is a simplified, description of generative AI, and you can think of generative AI as the ability for a model to create digital artifacts. And it does so, very much like a skilled artist, if you were to think of an analogy, who has maybe listened to a lot of music or listened to or seen a lot of paintings, or, in this case, the models have been trained on a vast amount of data. And during that training phase, and there's been a number of advances in technology as well that has led to this, new era. But these new specialized models, you can think of them and call them foundation models. They have a very special way in which they absorb the intricate patterns, structures, and relationships within the data, and really build a deep understanding. And with this knowledge, they can then create something entirely new and unique. So in terms of exactly what they can create, pretty much all digital content is anything that can be digitally manifested is up for grabs. It can be created through generative AI. And this field is very rapidly moving into the physical world as well. So if there are a set of physical actions that can be taken, generative AI can power those as well. So all of you, I'm assuming at this point, have either used ChatGPT or have used Bard. And so in terms of content, the kinds of responses these models can give you. They can give you textual narratives. They can get very creative in writing essays, in putting together emails or blog posts, or summarizing documents, translating text. They're really good at that. In terms of audio and video and music clips, they can create those as well and work with those too. They are really good at product designs and schematics. So we'll see, later in the deck, the whole world of drug discovery has been upended by generative AI models. And even, fields like construction and architecture, an architect can now go in with just a few prompts, describe what they'd like to see built, and these models can create architectural diagrams that are compliant with local building codes. The world of software and data has also been impacted in a big way, as these models can write software code, they can enhance code, they can comment code, they can debug code. So we're seeing very rapid improvements in the capabilities of these models there. And also with the creation of synthetic data assets. So you're not just dependent on real world data, you can now create synthetic data which retains the distribution patterns in real world data. The last bullet there is actually quite fascinating, where these models can generate instructions to take actions, and these actions could be virtual actions or physical actions if they're embodied. And that has far-reaching ramifications, as we'll see later on in this presentation. So there's a whole host of different types of artifacts that these models can create. Now, why does it matter? Clearly, all of this has a very broad set of implications. Pretty much all domains, all roles, all industries, all functions are going to be impacted in some way or the other with generative AI. Many people think of this as the new age electricity that's going to power, pretty much all aspects moving forward. As we'll see in the demo, and as some of you may have already been exposed to some of these technologies, they can really spark, a creativity and lead to many innovative ways and strategies for getting things done. And from a government perspective, they also raise several important policy questions as it relates to data privacy, ownership, accountability, ethics, intellectual property rights, bias, so on and so forth. And this is a very, very big area of debate globally now. I think in the European Union, here in the US, and elsewhere, there's a lot of discussion around, what is the right regulatory framework for this new technology. Now, what makes generative AI so special is, we've been on this journey with AI since about the mid-50s, and for the last, say, 60 plus years, there's been an evolution in different types of AI, and the technology has been getting better. But this is for the first time that we are seeing technology that has several attributes that historically we've only associated with humans, in terms of common sense reasoning, a mastery of language, pretty sophisticated logical deduction and causal judgment, very broad knowledge of the entire world and all domains and all topics, as well as the ability to blend all of this information and be very creative. So if we think of GPT-4 as being the state-of-the-art foundation model out there today, it's already surpassed I would say most humans in many domains, but in a short matter of time we'll see it'll be commonplace, at least that's what we expect, for these models to surpass human capabilities across all domains, and then they'll evolve into surpassing all capabilities of all of humankind combined in aggregate. So we'll enter the era of super intelligence later, but at least in the near term, we expect these models to go past human capabilities across all domains very quickly. So, quick snapshot on how these models work. The first scenario here that I'm describing is more consumer centric. So if you've logged into ChatGPT, or you use Bard, or Midjourney, or DALL-E, this will seem very familiar. So you start with what are called these new class of models. They're called foundation models, and these models are quickly becoming multimodal in the sense that they can process text and sound and images and video. So we are on that journey, and they're increasingly getting sophisticated there. So these models, the training data sets for these models is vast. It's pretty much, you can think of it at the scale of all the information on the web. Now, several of these models are also trained with a lot of proprietary information that these companies like OpenAI and Google have collected from a variety of different sources to make the models even more specialized. And so it's a pretty massive operation to train some of these models at this scale. The GPT-4 scale is north of $100 million for each model. And even for GPT-3, it's rumored that OpenAI spent anywhere from $10 to $15 million to create GPT-3. So these models are getting expensive and bigger, as they scale and the intelligence increases. Now, today, if you're using ChatGPT, you're directly interacting with a version of these models. So ChatGPT actually sits on GPT-4, and ChatGPT is a I would say a specialized version, an instruct kind of model on top of GPT-4 that allows for conversational, interaction with GPT-4, and that's what the user is exposed to. So this would be a very classic consumer scenario. And then if you think of an enterprise or public sector or potentially a government scenario, here the difference is that you'll start with some of these foundation models, and Hugging Face is, I think of it as a GitHub for generative AI models and other types of models. So there's a lot of open source models in Hugging Face. So you would start with a model of choice based on the use case that you want to focus on, and you might fine tune it, so customize it to include some specialized data, which maybe the broader, bigger general model may not have been exposed to. So in the context of India, for example, if you're creating something very specialized in healthcare and you want to focus on Ayurvedic type treatments, you might train it with some text that deals with different types of Ayurvedic practices and techniques and so on and so forth. Or if you're going very deep into the Indian legislative code, and all the different laws that may have been passed down to like a state level or local level. You may have legislative data or other government documents that you might want to fine tune these models with, and then you use those fine-tuned models alongside this new GenAI app stack that's being pretty much created as we speak. This is a pretty rich area for innovation right now, and pretty much on a weekly basis there are enhancements that are happening to this stack. In fact, just last week Microsoft announced their Copilot stack for building GenAI based applications. So I'm not going to go deeper into some of these concepts. They're happy to do that in the Q&A. But there's a new stack that's being created based on which you would have a new class of applications, which would be at a level of intelligence that really sets them apart from what legacy software has been. And then we'll see some examples of that. So I just want to give you guys a quick overview of how GenAI works, and this summarizes the consumer as well as the business world scenarios. Now, I want to touch upon this important concept around emergent properties because these are really fascinating properties that these models have developed. What is important to understand is we don't know all the different properties these models have. Nobody designed these properties into the models. That's a real shocker. We don't even know exactly why or how these models develop these properties, but we know these properties exist in these models. So what are examples of these properties? So the first one is common sense reasoning. So if you see how these models are trained, they're trained to if you take, I'm going to use GPT-4 as just one canonical example here. They're trained to read a whole corpus of text, and as they're reading the text, they're trained to predict the next word in that corpus of text. And they try to minimize the loss function, and the loss function here deals with the error with which they are unable to predict accurately what that next word would be. So that's essentially what the training is. No one trains them on common sense concepts, right? So if you told GPT-4 that it's raining outside and should I take an umbrella, GPT-4 would understand that an umbrella would protect you from the rain, and you should take it if you don't want to get wet. If you ask it if you don't charge your phone and will it continue to work indefinitely, it would tell you that no, your phone needs to be repeatedly charged, otherwise its battery would run out. So there are concepts that we take for granted as humans, but for AI models it's been very hard to grasp them. With this new class of foundation models, they do exhibit common sense reasoning. It tends to appear at different levels of scale. So some of the smaller models may not have all these properties that I'm describing, but the very large models, they do have them. The next one is physical intuition. So if you had a glass of water, for example, on a table, and somebody hit that glass of water and it fell off from the table, the model would tell you that the glass will fall on the floor, the glass could probably break, and the water will spill out. So it has this understanding of the laws of gravity and what will happen. So these models have learned that as well. Metacognition is a very interesting property where the models understand people have a mind of their own, and because of that, people have opinions and they make judgments and they have biases. And there's this whole theory of mind concept that these models are starting to get really good at. And so what you'll see into the future, very shortly, we're already there in many cases, is these models will be able to showcase a lot of empathy. In fact, there was a research study that was done between actual doctors and then GPT-4. There was a series of questions that the patients asked the doctors, as well as separately with GPT-4. And the patients rated the answers from GPT-4 to be more accurate. But more importantly, they rated GPT-4 to be more empathetic than the human doctors. So this is interesting. And, we've always thought that these models may never figure out emotions and so on and so forth, but that's not the case. They tend to be more empathetic. They tend to be very persuasive. They can influence folks, and then they'd be good at negotiation as well. So these are all because of this emergent property around having a theory of the mind. Logical deduction, so they can get pretty sophisticated in their deduction capabilities. So if you give them a set of rules, they'd be able to deduce a whole host of facts based on the logic that you have given them. Causal judgment. So here, if you ask one of these models, if you don't water a plant, what happens? It will tell you, something along the lines that the plant needs water, and if it doesn't get water, then it will dry out and eventually die. So it understands, why certain things may happen in certain scenarios. With math, the model's initial versions, if you tried GPT 3.5, it used to make pretty embarrassing mistakes. I think GPT-4 still is making, some errors here, but by and large, the capabilities are increasing, pretty dramatically, and in many cases, they are going on to solve math Olympiad problems and very complex, algebra and calculus types of problems. So the capabilities here inherently are improving, very rapidly. And it's important to understand that all GPT-4 has been trained on is text. No one really taught it how to do math. It's actually within its internal layers and architecture, learned the fundamentals of math and physics and chemistry and biology, and it semantically understands those concepts. Software development. So these models can now generate software code. I can show you some of this in the demo. I'm sure many of you have tried this out. And they can help you complete functions, inline code, documentation, debugging, and a whole host of things. So the whole software industry is in for a fair bit of disruption. And then tool invocation. This is a very interesting new property. So it's got very important ramifications in the context that with GPT-4 as one example, on a zero-shot basis, which means with no training examples, just given the English language description of different, APIs, software APIs, it can invoke different types of tools. So it could invoke a calculator when it needs to do math. It can invoke a web browser type of agent when it needs to browse the web. And I'll show you some demos of these different, tools or plugins that these things can invoke. And it all it needs is an API and an English language, description of it, and they're off to the races. So this is zero-shot tool invocation, which is very fundamental. This is what allows these models to essentially effectively take actions. Now, very quickly in terms of how this starts getting used and the human involvement and how models coexist with humans. So the status quo, if you think of any task, this is where we are in terms of quality and the time it takes a large amount of time, and we have a status quo level of quality. Soon you're going to start seeing the emergence of co-pilots. These are essentially generative AI-based intelligent agents that will help and assist you with different tasks, and we'll talk a lot more about these co-pilots. And then in the very near future, we do expect to see autopilots emerge as well. And these autopilots will need to be given some direction, some objective, seeded with some conditions, and then they'd be off on their own to deliver whatever is being asked of them. Just here in the city of San Francisco, in terms of real autopilots, recently, a few weeks ago, we now have autopilot taxis. So there's really no driver in the taxi, but you ask for a taxi and the car pulls up and you get in and you go to your destination. So we have real autopilots on the roads here in the Bay Area. So with that, now I'm going to shift gears and get into a series of demos. This is going to be a really fun part of the presentation. So let's start with Chat GPT 1. So let's see the first one here. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to start with some simple ones here, since we're talking about government. A lot of what government does is, you put together content for consumption by citizens, and so it could be speeches for ministers or other content that needs to be built. And so something like a GPT-4 can be quite effective in generating this content. So here I'm asking you to generate a speech for the Road Transport and Highways Minister on how the plans for infrastructure development in India will impact its economic growth. And it goes on, and you can give it a whole host of points that you'd like it to include in the speech, and it will put together a pretty nice one for you, and then you can go back and forth and refine it. So I'm assuming all of you have used it in some shape or form. I only started with this to give you a sense of the the creativity. Now you can use it to brainstorm policy as well. So here we are asking for a proposal for improving digital literacy in the rural parts of India. So it puts together an initial draft of a policy that one could review and iterate upon, and you can go back and forth with GPT-4 on different parts of the policy, with like the initiatives and the implementation strategy and so on and so forth. So pretty much any topic question that you have in mind, use GPT-4 or GPT 3.5. I would recommend using GPT-4 to the degree you can, because there's a big gulf between the capabilities of 3.5 and 4. It's very, very material. So please use 4 to the degree you can, and you will get, I would say, good quality, reasonably good quality output, which you can then review, refine, and iterate. And this is where we are today with GPT-4. And as new versions of 4 come out and eventually 5 comes out, this will only get better. Now, the other thing I want to, you can do is you can translate these to different Indian languages, right? So here I'm just asking for translation into Bengali, and so it is going down this path. And while it's doing that, let me bring up another version of the ChatGPT window. And what I want to show you guys here is so when GPT first came out, it was trained on a version of data until about September of 2021, and anything beyond September of 2021 was not in its training data set, so it wasn't aware, and that's all you can do. With 3.5, that's the case. With 4, they have extended the capabilities of the model with these plugins, and so I want to show you guys some of these plugins. Think of these plugins as the new app stores. So these are the AI apps that get installed with GPT, and they'll get installed now. There have been some pretty important announcements recently. So all these plugins that you're seeing here with GPT, they're all going to be supported by all of Microsoft's Copilot, and by any Copilot that is supported by the Microsoft or that is built on the Microsoft Copilot stack. So they're building like a universal marketplace of plugins, or you can call them think of them as AI apps. So here, if I looked at all, we have quite a few. So there's about 200 odd different plugins that work with GPT-4. Many of them are popular and so on and so forth. I've installed a few of them, and I'll do a demo with one of them. So the demo I'm going to do is with this the PDF plugin. So here I found a document that is from the government of India. This was sent out sometime last year, and this is about the Pradhan Mantri's Jan Dhan Yojana, and it's an overview of how the scheme is going, the impact it's had, and the different features. I mean, it's just a quick overview of the scheme, and it contains a whole host of information. So that's the URL. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see how the Bengali, this, we stopped the response, but it was on its way to generate this policy in Bengali, and you can generate this, translate these documents or these output, you can get output in different Indian languages. But we had to stop this because we need to do the next query here. And so what I'm going to say is the following. I'm going to refer to this document, this the PDF that we just saw, and I'm going to ask questions about the document. So now I'm taking a PDF document and I'm making it conversational. So I hope you can understand the gravity of what I've just done. Earlier, if I had a host of PDF documents and say some of them are 100 pages, 200 pages, whatever, I would have to go to page 123 and search for the answer there. Then I'd do some search keyword this, search keyword that, or I'd have to scan lots of different sections to get a good comprehensive view of one of my questions that I may have. And here I just upload that essentially. I'll give a pointer to the document to GPT-4. The plugin Ask Your PDF kicks in here. So what the plugin has done is it has pulled the contents of the document, and then it works with GPT-4, which then summarizes, very nicely, an answer for my question in terms of the actual impact that the Pradhan Mantri's Jan Dhan Yojana has had. For me to put something like this together took only a few seconds, but otherwise it would take easily could take 15, 20, 30 minutes to parse the document, call out all the different sections and summarize it neatly. It's all been done extremely quickly. So this is on the ChatGPT side. Now I wanted to quickly go to a different example. So this is the YouTube page for the Ministry of Finance, the Government of India, and I found one of these videos here where we had the finance minister, and she is in a 1 hour plus video. This is about 1 hour 22 minutes. So it's a really long YouTube video, and she's on some important panel discussion at an event held by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. So what I do is I go to Bard. I'm just showing you another example here. And I ask Bard, I don't want to spend 1 hour seeing that YouTube video, but I want the summary of what was discussed in that video. So I simply give Bard a pointer to that video, and very quickly, as you saw, less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds, it gives me a nice summary of what that 1 hour video is about. So I found this personally to be very useful because there's just so much information out there, and sometimes there are good YouTube videos that come about that you may not have the time to sit through all of it, but this will give you the essence very quickly. The other thing Bard is good at, and you can do this with some of the ChatGPT plugins as well. I'm just giving you a flavor of how Bard works. Bard can go out. There's no native plugin per se. I mean, Bard can just do this on its own. It can go out and go to different news sources and summarize information from you for across the web. So here I'm asking it to summarize the recent advances in renewable energy for India, and so it's going to figure out what recent developments have happened there. It's going to take all that information, and it's going to give me a nice succinct summary of all of that. So to do this in a conventional fashion, I'd have to do 10 or 20 different Google searches, click on maybe 5 links per search. So that's at least 50 plus links. Read all those pages, cut and paste, or absorb the information in all of them and put together some that you can see that's easily going to take over an hour easily. And here I've got it in less than 5-10 seconds. A nice clean summary of what I'm looking for. And if I need more information, I want to drill down somewhere, I can just ask another question, asking it, can you give me more details about the wind energy or hydropower or whatever I care about. That back and forth conversational interface is really good at doing. So hopefully you found a couple of these demos useful. Now let's go back to a really fun one. Maybe I'll do Adobe Firefly, then I'll do the Microsoft one. So Adobe Firefly, this is about images. I thought it'll be worthwhile for you guys to get a flavor of, what can be done in the image world. And so what I'm asking for here is, I'm asking it to spell out India written with Indian spices, right? So you can create very interesting and unique and creative, text. So these are all with text effects, and you can pretty much give it different, objects, and it's going to render that text with those different objects. So they give you some examples here. So this is red fur. This is black gold with dripping paint, and so on and so forth. All this is somewhat fun, and you can try different versions here. In terms of actually creating images, so you can use an ability for Firefly to actually create images based on prompts. So I've just entered this prompt, and it gave it to me in art form, but I want it in photorealistic form. So it's regenerating it, and in about 10 seconds or less, it's generated images for the prompt that I had asked it for. So you can include, and I have some images in my deck which I created using Firefly. You can just put in different prompts, and for whatever, for all kinds of different communication needs you may have at the government or for websites, you may need to create all kinds of different images. Many of these could be custom images focused on the issue at hand or the Indian context. Use prompts and you can generate these images. So very fascinating stuff being done at Adobe, and there's a 1-minute video that I'm going to play here, which will give you a flavor of what this world is evolving into. So you get a sense of, it goes on with many different types of image creation and image editing, all prompt-based, capabilities. So that was a little bit of fun and color. Now I'd like to maybe spend some time on Adept, and I'll play another video. Adept, I'm just calling out as an interesting company. They are creating what are called action-based transformers, but essentially these are systems that can take action. And so I'm going to bring up one demo just to give you a sense of how this would work. Here, Redfin is a popular site in the US which has real estate information, and what you're doing as a user is you're telling the Adept, model that you want to find a house in Houston for a family of 4 with a certain budget of $600,000. So the moment you enter that prompt, it goes to the Redfin site. So now I'll just pause this. What Adept has done is it has trained the model to fundamentally understand how a browser works. So they have entirely focused on the browser, so they can pretty much use a browser just like a human being could. So just as you saw, GPT-4 when it was writing a speech, or it was helping you draft a policy, it was spitting out one word after the next. With Adept, instead of words, it's going to be outputting different actions, and you'll see those actions on the screen here. Yeah, this is more or less done. So here it's this was a quick one. So what I can do now is maybe there was a compelling set. Yeah, let me go through this and I'll go through the use cases very quickly then. But I do want you guys to see this because it's going to impact each and every one of you, at least to the degree that you're going to use Microsoft.
Imagine you're leading a team at a global manufacturing company and you want to create a rock-solid customer proposal and you don't have time for writer's block. Let's see how Copilot can use your customer notes in OneNote as well as another internal document. Copilot quickly creates a first draft. Now, you probably want this to look like your previous proposals. Copilot can give you a draft in the format you typically use. It inserts product images and pulls in relevant visuals from other files. You can even include a short summary at the top of the document. And Copilot can make suggestions to strengthen the proposal, like adding an FAQ, which it will generate for you. Now remember, you're not going to send this off to a customer without a thorough review. But Copilot still saved you tons of time in the process. It's time to get ready for your customer pitch meeting. Now, everyone has had a moment when they wish they could turn their proposal into a customer-ready presentation without having to start from scratch. Well, guess what? Now you can. Copilot can turn your Word document into a PowerPoint presentation. Now, you have a professional-looking presentation that you can hone and polish. This is truly amazing. Using just your words, Copilot translates Word into PowerPoint and PowerPoint into Word. Now, let's add a slide and give Copilot some quick instructions. There it goes, ready for you to review. Now, this slide is a little bit wordy. Let's ask Copilot to make it more visual. And check this out. Copilot can even animate the slide. It gives it a professional design treatment in a single click. But it doesn't stop there. Copilot can even generate speaker notes. I am serious. Speaker notes. It's not only a time saver, it's helping me be a better presenter and close this deal. Let's jump into Copilot in Excel. Copilot puts all the rich capabilities of Excel at your fingertips. Say you need to analyze this quarter's sales results. You start by asking Copilot to analyze the data and give you 3 key trends. Within seconds, you've got what you need. But you want to drill in. You ask Copilot a follow-up question about one of the trends. Copilot creates a new sheet. This new sheet creates a sandbox to play in to better understand what's going on without modifying the data in the original sheet. This is a great example of how Copilot up-levels your skills, showing you how to break down the problem step by step. You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now, you want to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model of the scenario. And it even asks you if you want to learn more about what it did with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions. Let me show you how Copilot...
So that's the demo section, and let's go back to the deck. So you saw all of these different demos. Hopefully you found that helpful. I'm going to go through this next section really quickly in the interest of time, but we can open it up to Q&A if there's interest in any one of these use cases. So for starters, Gen AI is going to have a massive impact on society. As we saw, some of you can very quickly extrapolate from the demos and see that almost all software will have now copilots or conversational interfaces, because that's much more natural for us to engage with software along those lines. And that's going to lead to a lot of improved efficiency across the board in all industries, all sectors. So something as, a commonplace as, customer service and support, you can just imagine a whole series of co-pilots accelerating resolution of issues, helping people cost of treatment, assistance to nurses and doctors, and much more proactive care for patients. Personalized education, we'll see there's a slide on that with adaptive learning and student and faculty support. Productivity, you just saw, creating Word documents or any kind of document or emails or presentations or reports. Now you work at a much higher level of abstraction. You're no longer doing the nitty-gritty detail work. You're just giving out prompts and the work is getting done for you. You're reviewing, editing, refining, but you're not building things from scratch. And generative AI is already started to have significant impacts on the accelerated rate at which science is progressing. So just the fundamentals sciences around physics, chemistry, biology, it's having an impact there. Clearly, with every technology, there's dual use, so they can be used for good as well as for bad. So there are risks as well. So for starters, with increased automation, there will be some job loss in society. There were already questions on privacy of data, so that's going to be a concern because these models tend to learn on everything that's out there, and it's hard to distinguish where that output actually came from. Biases we've discussed. The dependence on AI here is a risk where we get overly dependent on these models and then we have diminished faculties and skills and capabilities, as humankind. And then the social manipulation aspect here is important to note as well, because as these models get more powerful, they will be able to spread misinformation and actually influence and manipulate people's behavior with propaganda. So that's one of the risks. In terms of government and national security, again, many different avenues to drive benefits for the public services. In terms of getting citizens accurate responses, aggregating data across different silos. In terms of decision making, with simulating different effects of policies and/or risks such as economic downturns or natural disasters, making forecasts, around population growth or economic development, environmental changes. Helping government with efficient allocation of resources, so bringing in efficiencies to the delivery of healthcare, education, or transportation, making budget recommendations, being used during periods of emergency responses, and planning, and so on and so forth. Military is an entire, big, large domain where there will be large impact, particularly with autonomous combat systems, surveillance, cybersecurity, things of that nature. Oh, and then cybersecurity, of course, is a separate, beast by itself, where these tools can help and hurt on that front. So as it relates to improving cybersecurity, it can detect new forms of attack, and you can be proactive, in terms of defending against them. Then there are several risks, just as we saw on the society side. There are many risks that exist on the government front as well. Disinformation and driving distrust in the public institutions is a big one. We've spoken about bias and discrimination. It is expected, these technologies are expected to start a new arms race, which tends to happen whenever there's big enhancements or advancements in different types of tech. There's someone finds a way to use it in an arms race. We discussed briefly espionage and surveillance that can be dramatically increased with these types of technologies. And the last but not the least, where the models misunderstand what is being asked of them and then take action, which can lead to accidents, or the fear that many people have been now raising alarm bells around, which is misalignment, which is the models get too intelligent to and escape human control, and essentially develop their own objectives, which may not be aligned with what are the best interests for humanity. In terms of actual use cases, I'll spend a minute on a few of these and then we'll open it up to questions. So enhancing citizen support is really a low-hanging fruit. So, every time there's interaction with citizens in the context of disseminating information to them, answering their questions about different schemes or policies, or performing simple and routine transactions like filling out forms, issuing permits, getting payment, all of this, they can now be enabled with very intelligent, co-pilots that will work in the chosen language of that citizen, can work in a very natural conversational fashion, which is, critical for the large swaths of population, who are unable to use a computer, for example. And so here you have an image of a farmer. This incidentally was, created using Firefly. And here he's talking in Marathi to an agent and asking if his land is eligible for a certain scheme from the Department of Agriculture and Family and Farmer Welfare. And he has about 6 acres or so, and he's told that in Marathi that he's eligible because the cutoff for small farms for that scheme was 3 hectares, and so 5 or 6 acres would qualify. And then the agent also, the co-pilot, the digital agent, gives him directions on how to apply for a certain scheme. So that would be a process for this farmer to even discover, but now it can be done. It takes out a lot of the friction from getting access to that information. In terms of content creation, a lot of government is about, creating content and generating public awareness, or sending out notifications and reminders, or managing, different types of queries on social media, and or providing updates, via social media, generating all kinds of different reports and giving status updates for progress for different schemes and policies, or managing communication during a crisis. So in each one of these cases, generative AI based techniques can really simplify a lot of the back and forth that happens during content creation. Healthcare, very, very big domain. There's a lot of use cases. So I've just called out a few of them. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but you can get access to these slides. So first one is co-pilots for nurses and healthcare workers in general, which can assist with consultations, maybe ask patients directly, a few questions, setting them up for their appointment with a nurse, help prioritize different patients, that nurses or other workers need to see, follow up with patients, after their visit with the nurse. The digital health co-pilot is directly, catered to patients themselves. So this is, a human avatar. One thing we didn't talk about is the emotional connection that people will start to have with different co-pilots. So just like we have relationships and, we may have a certain connection with different people that we interact with, we expect that to, get into this co-pilot world as well. And here, this is going to be a very friendly, assistant who is going to help patients with their medication adherence and monitoring, and if they're in clinical trials or their chronic conditions, and their physical and emotional well-being. So there's a whole host of different areas that these co-pilots can help, patients with. And then the third area is around digital clinical assessments. This is actually helping the doctors and other clinicians with diagnoses, and it all being very, evidence-based and evidence-driven, keeping up with the different, clinical trials as well as research papers that get published to establish, new guidelines of care. So healthcare is ripe with a lot of opportunity. I think this is a 10x kind of or 100x kind of area where we can bring the costs of healthcare down and as well as improve the quality of healthcare. Education is another big one with students. So there's adaptive learning and assistance. So the pacing at which these courses go, the degree of difficulty with which they're given assignments, all of that is calibrated to the individual needs of the patient. So these Gen AI based tutors can help do that. Also can help different students, perhaps in college or in other places, with career guidance and placement advice. with faculty, can help them with curriculum development. So there's a lot of content that can be created for different subjects, as well as with teaching assistants in terms of monitoring and tracking student progress, as well as giving advice on what are the best next steps for a student, providing analytics, things of that nature. So all of this can be put in at scale, at the country level, national scope, and really raise the bar with how students are educated. Defense, there are a number of different use cases here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but in the interest of time, we can do this in the Q&A if there's interest. But there are a whole series of different new capabilities that can be created and new competencies that can be built to further strengthen the defense establishment at India. And this is rapidly happening across the world right now. Last but not the least, in all the other industries, each one of these industries, there are several different use cases for generative AI. Again, I'm just going to leave this slide up here. I'm not going to go through each one of these in detail, but happy to take questions. And with that, I think I'm at the end of this presentation.
Hope you enjoyed this masterclass and thank you for watching. Don't forget to tune into our next one.